Shabbat Shalom. As our hearts are with our family in Israel, spending significant time in bomb shelters this Shabbat, I want to share a story by Israeli author Etgar Keret, which he wrote during the 2012 war in Gaza, called Pastrami Sandwich. In it, a young Israeli family is driving to Grandpa Yonatan's house to play badminton when the air raid sirens go off. Following home front command instructions, they pull over, get out of the car, and Shira, the mother, lies down on the side of the road. "Daddy, I'm a little nervous," says Lev, their 7-year-old. His father tells Lev to lie down, but he's a bit paralyzed by fear. "Lie down already," Shira says, raising her voice to be heard over the blaring siren. "How'd you like to play a game of pastrami sandwich?" the father asks Lev. "What's that?" he asks, not letting go of the father's hand. "Mommy and I are slices of bread," he explains, "and you're a slice of pastrami. And we have to make a pastrami sandwich as fast as we can. Let's go. First, you lie down on Mommy," the father says, and Lev lies down on his mother's back and hugs her as tightly as he can. The father carefully lies on top of them. "This feels good," Lev says and smiles. "Being the pastrami is the best," Shira says under them. "Pastrami," the father yells. "Pastrami," the mother yells. "Pastrami," the boy yells, his voice shaky either from excitement or fear. Then ants start crawling over the mother. "Pastrami with ants," the father yells. "Pastrami with ants," the mother yells. "Yich," Lev yells. They hear a boom, which the reader understands to be the Iron Dome intercepting the missiles. After some time, when it's safe, the father begins to dust himself up and stand up. "Lie down," Lev tells him. "Lie down, Daddy. You're ruining the sandwich." "It's okay," the father explains. "Game's over. We won." "But it's nice," Lev says. "Let's stay like this a little more." "Daddy," Lev says as he's being buckled in, "promise that if there's another siren, you and Mommy will play pastrami with me again." "I promise," the father says. "And if it gets boring, I'll teach you how to play grilled cheese." "Great," Lev says a second later, and he adds more seriously, "but what if there aren't any more sirens ever?" "I think there'll be at least one or two more," his father reassures him. "And if not," his mother adds from the front seat, "we can play it without the sirens too." Thursday night, we learned of what appears to be and what we hope is a decisive setback to Iran's nuclear capabilities, bravely carried out by Israel's Air Force. In response, Iran first fired over 100 drones into Israel, which were successfully neutralized, and since then, a barrage of missiles, ballistic missiles, some of which landing, killing 3, as we've mentioned, Israelis, injuring dozens, setting high-rise buildings, homes ablaze. Thursday, we first collectively, though cautiously, breathed a sigh of relief in a demonstration of Israel's power and ability to protect itself against enemies that seek its destruction, the stated aim of the mullahs, and why we can't allow them to have a nuclear bomb. The intelligence, planning, and might required to carry out such a mission never ceases to astonish. And at the same time, family, friends, and loved ones, members of our B'nai Yeshurun and Cleveland Jewish community, spent a sleepless night and what should be a restful Shabbat, taking cover in bomb shelters, living in the fear and uncertainty of ongoing retaliation and what's to follow. Planes that were bound for Ben Gurion Airport were turned around midair as members of our community had to cancel their trips amid current dangers. I spoke with one young family whose daughter wanted to talk to the rabbi and ask a question: why does Iran hate us? These are the questions that our children, our grandchildren are asking now. They're seeking comfort. They're seeking protection. They're seeking that pastrami sandwich that lets them know that everything's going to be okay. And of course, the fact that our hostages are still held in captivity in Gaza, October 7th itself, is the most searingly painful reminder that despite the most recent demonstration of our power, we are also vulnerable. This week's Torah portion, B'halotcha, just might give us the hope and reassurance that we need collectively as a Jewish people. It begins with God's instructions to light the menorah and the portable sanctuary during our desert wanderings, the Mishkan. This week, we nurture, protect, and shine our Jewish light in the face of darkness, which threatens to envelop us. So much of this week's Torah portion is about trying to find our way through a vast wilderness where the pathway forward isn't always clear. So God gives us guiding lights. The menorah, a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of cloud by night. In our vulnerability, in our uncertainty, God plays a game of pastrami sandwich with God's children, offering a pillar of cloud in front of us, a pillar of fire surrounding us with guidance and light to protect us and guide us in the wilderness. We must forge our own pathway forward amidst uncertainty, but God gives us hope and guidance and light in the form of sacred pillars and a menorah, which represents God's presence and the light of Torah. The commentators have so much to say about the significance of the menorah itself, but I just want to highlight one today with you, which is from the commentator Sforno, the great 16th century Italian rabbi, who says that the right side of the menorah, the three candles to the right, represents the world as it ought to be, the world to come, our eternal values. And the menorah on the left side, the candles to the left, they represent the world as it is, the practical, hard reality that can get in the way of those eternal values. But the middle candle is where the world as it should be and the world as it is meet. And that's the candle that occupied the position closest to the Parochet, to the Kodesh Kodeshim, the Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum of the Mishkan, where God's presence dwelt. It's that candle, the menorah, representing our world as it is and as it should be, and our purpose as Jews to try to make those two meet. That's our sacred purpose amidst uncertainty, amidst tumult. That's the light that we shine into the world. That's the light bright enough to guide our steps toward the promised land. As Jews, there are two pillars that guide our people through the wilderness. Our commitment to the world as it is, encountering an unfriendly, a dangerous, a hostile reality, and striving for the world as it should be. And there are two texts that I think represent both of these pillars of the Jewish people. One was from a speech from former IDF Chief of Staff Gavi Ashkenazi, who delivered this speech from Auschwitz to a group of the March of the Living in 2008. He writes, he says, never again shall we stand helpless, crying for the mercy of others. Never again shall we beg to be defended. Never again shall we allow our sons and daughters, our parents and our grandparents to be erased from the face of the earth. Never again shall the frightened eyes of Jewish children look with ghastly dread through the barbed wire fences of concentration camps. Never. This is the world we live in. It's confronting our reality. It's, in a sense, the pillar of us which speaks to our Auschwitz, our pogrom, our history of oppression that so makes us who we are. And there's another side of the menorah, of course, which is the world as it ought to be. Another orientation. And this is from an article written by Rabbi David Hartman in 1982 called Auschwitz or Sinai. And he writes, "The model of Sinai awakens the Jewish people to the awesome responsibility of becoming a holy people. At Sinai, we discover the absolute demand of God. We discover who we are by what we do. Sinai calls us to action, to moral awakening, to living constantly with the challenges of building a moral and just society which mirrors the kingdom of God in history. Sinai creates humility and openness to the demands of self-transcendence. In this respect, it is the antithesis of the moral narcissism that can result from suffering and from viewing oneself as a victim. We know that as a Jewish people, we're not content to see ourselves as merely a victim. It's not in our spirit. It's not who we are. This week, we also read from the prophet Zechariah, who envisions that menorah, not by might and not by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. We are a combination of both. We are might and we are spirit. We are striving constantly for that meeting point in the menorah where the world to come, as it should be, meets the world as it is. To be an or lagoyim, a light unto the nations. To be mamlechet kohanim vegoy kadosh, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. We have these same values with our American identity in this country. And it's no coincidence that it's symbolized in a big Statue of Liberty holding up a menorah with a poem written by a Jew, Emma Lazarus, saying, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." There's tumult in our own country, too, as we debate and try to figure out how the world, as it should be, meets our world. And there's no clear answer. We're in the wilderness. We're striving. And only we can forge a path forward amidst uncertainty. But of course, we're guided by the torch, the light, the menorah of Israel, and the torch, the light, menorah of this country. I want to give one final example of the Israeli spirit which refuses to be a victim, and which I hope serves as comfort to us all when we need that pastrami sandwich of support and comfort and knowing that things will be okay. One of our members, Asa, is currently on a birthright trip in Israel and FaceTimed me from before Shabbos, but it was Shabbos for them, from the bomb shelter. And you know what they were doing? I imagined a terrible Shabbos of canned peas and tuna fish and whatever they had in the shelter. And I expected morale to be low, for there to be, of course, fear and debilitating worry. And instead, I couldn't even hear Asa over the sounds of song of Am Yisrael Chai. Everybody cheering, Am Yisrael Chai, Od Avinu, Am Yisrael Chai. This is the spirit that Zechariah the prophet's talking about. It's not by might, not by power alone, but by my spirit, a spirit that refuses to be broken, a spirit that continues to strive to be that middle candle, bridging this world as it is and the world as it should be. I want to conclude just by going back to this story of a family making a pastrami sandwich on the side of the road. They're in the wilderness on their way to play badminton with their grandpa. That's the world as it should be. That's what Israel should be. We shouldn't have to be diverted from that. We shouldn't have to pull over and make the sandwich. But moments like this can bring us together, can bring us together tightly for the comfort and support that we need. And that's a guiding light too. B'chalotcha literally means when you cause to rise. The story ends with the parents standing up and the son saying, wait, but this is fun, let's stay down here. We will not stay down here forever. The question now is, how do we rise from this? And we will rise from this. And we'll do it together as a family that supports one another, guided by the two pillars, sandwiched by the continual striving to make this a more peaceful, just, secure, and moral world. Shabbat Shalom.